Step into the grim and foggy streets of Victorian London, a city shrouded in mystery and fear. In the autumn of 1888, a series of gruesome murders shook the very foundation of society, sending shockwaves across the world. The perpetrator, known only as Jack the Ripper, prowled the shadowy alleyways of Whitechapel, leaving a trail of death and terror in his wake. To this day, the identity of Jack the Ripper remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in criminal history, captivating the imaginations of generations and leaving behind a legacy that continues to intrigue and haunt us. Join us as we delve into the enigma of Jack the Ripper, exploring the dark and haunting tale that has left an indelible mark on history. The Jack the Ripper case stands as one of the darkest chapters in history, plunging both England and the world into turmoil during the late 19th century. From August to November 1888, in the Whitechapel district of London, a series of murders sent shockwaves of horror through the community and law enforcement alike. The victims were often impoverished women living in destitution and insecurity, resorting to any means to survive. They were ruthlessly and brutally slain, often mutilated and grievously harmed. Each Jack the Ripper murder left deep and tragic wounds in the soul of the community. It wasn't just the physical cuts on their bodies, but also the deep emotional scars that lingered. The savage and merciless nature of the killer left not only the families of the victims, but also the society they inhabited living in fear and haunting apprehension. The notoriety of the Jack the Ripper case has transcended the boundaries of a mere serial murder investigation, becoming a symbol of the impotence of law enforcement. The police faced immense pressure from the public and the media as they attempted to track down the murderer, yet they were left without any concrete evidence. The bizarre and horrifying nature of the murders led to widespread speculation and conjecture about the identity and motives of the killer. Despite the passage of centuries, the Jack the Ripper case remains vividly alive in the public imagination, captivating researchers and crime enthusiasts alike. The story of Jack the Ripper has become an indispensable part of popular culture, inspiring numerous books, films, and television shows on the subject. However, the mystery of the killer's identity and motives remains one of the greatest challenges in criminal history. Despite numerous theories and hypotheses, the Jack the Ripper case remains unsolved to this day. Its strangeness and enigma have cemented it as one of the most infamous serial murder cases, continually sparking interest in criminology and popular culture studies. London in the late 19th century witnessed a rapid industrial expansion and a significant increase in population. Industrialization and urbanization attracted a large influx of migrant workers from rural areas into the city, creating a unique ethnic and cultural diversity. However, economic development did not lead to substantial improvements in living conditions for everyone. In particular, impoverished areas such as Whitechapel in the East End of London bore the brunt of economic underdevelopment, resulting in numerous social issues such as unemployment, vice, and crime. Culturally, London during this period was a hub of culture and entertainment. Theaters, bookstores, and coffee houses sprang up everywhere, creating a vibrant and rich environment for cultural activities. However, while part of society benefited from this cultural prosperity, the poor and unfortunate continued to lead lives full of hardship and suffering. The primary area affected by the Jack the Ripper murders was Whitechapel, a poor and unstable district in the East End of London. This area was home to many migrants from rural regions and the countryside who came to the city seeking better job opportunities and a more promising life. However, the reality was starkly different, with high unemployment, poor living conditions, and rampant vice. Women in this area often worked in factories or service jobs, making a living through prostitution or odd jobs. This made them easy targets for the murderer, who sought victims that were accessible and less likely to attract attention. The poverty and social instability in the area created an ideal environment for the proliferation of crime and illicit activities. Insecurity and anxiety pervaded the community, and when the mysterious murders began, the resulting terror spread rapidly, plunging the community into a state of panic. The case of Marion Nichols, August 31, 1888. Marion Nichols, a 43-year-old impoverished woman, was the first victim of Jack the Ripper. She was found dead on a small street in Whitechapel. Her throat had been brutally slashed, and there were additional wounds on her body. Notably, the cuts on her neck were executed with speed and precision, indicating the perpetrator's skill and familiarity with the use of a knife. The case of Annie Chapman, September 8, 1888. Annie Chapman, a 47-year-old impoverished woman, was the second victim of Jack the Ripper. She was found dead in a small alley in Whitechapel. Her throat had been slashed, and her body had been surgically mutilated in a brutal manner. Similar to the previous case, the cuts on Chapman's body were executed with precision and skill, suggesting the killer's familiarity with anatomy and the use of a knife. The case of Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes, September 30, 1888. Elizabeth Stride and Catherine Eddowes were the next victims of Jack the Ripper, murdered on the same night within a few hours of each other. Elizabeth Stride's throat was cut, but there were no other severe wounds on her body, suggesting the killer may have been interrupted. In contrast, Catherine Eddowes was brutally mutilated, with multiple slashes and severe surgical mutilations on her body, indicative of the killer's gruesome and methodical approach. The case of Mary Jane Kelly, November 9, 1888. Mary Jane Kelly, a 25-year-old woman, is believed to be the final victim of Jack the Ripper. She was murdered in her own room, where she lived a life similar to the previous victims. Her body was brutally mutilated, with especially severe disfigurement to her face, marking a particularly savage and personal attack. All of these cases share the common features of the killer's brutality and savagery. The victims were typically impoverished women working in service jobs or as prostitutes, and all were attacked at night. The wounds on their bodies shared distinct characteristics. Their throats were slashed in a brutal manner, and their bodies were subjected to vicious mutilations. The Jack the Ripper case plunged both the community and the police into a state of panic. The sheer brutality and savagery of the murders shocked and terrified the public. The police dedicated significant resources and efforts to apprehending the killer, but ultimately failed. This failure led to widespread criticism of the police and government, as they were condemned for their inability to protect the community from such a heinous predator. The community, especially those living in the Whitechapel area, lived in a state of fear and confusion due to the presence of the murderer. Protests and demands for justice emerged from the community, yet panic and fear continued to spread. The Jack the Ripper case quickly became one of the most infamous serial murder cases in criminal history. The strange and mysterious nature of the killer's identity remains a hot topic for researchers and crime enthusiasts to this day. Over the decades, numerous studies and hypotheses have been proposed regarding the identity of Jack the Ripper. These theories are diverse and sometimes contradictory. However, several names and theories have garnered significant attention from both the research community and the public. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant, has been proposed as one of the prime suspects in the case. There is evidence to suggest that Kosminski had a history of unstable mental health and may have had the capability and motive to commit the murders. Michael Ostrog, a Russian immigrant, has also been considered a potential candidate. He had a criminal past and was described as a mysterious and dangerous man. Walter Sickert, a renowned painter, has been suggested as Jack the Ripper by some researchers and theories. Scholars argue that Sickert possessed a blend of artistic skill and an unstable psyche, making him a plausible candidate for carrying out the criminal acts. Francis Tumblety, Francis Tumblety, an American military surgeon, has also been considered as a potential candidate. He had a criminal record and was known for his eccentric and obsessive behavior towards women. Although there have been numerous studies and theories about the identity of Jack the Ripper to this day, there is no concrete evidence that can definitively identify who the killer was. The police and investigators of the time collected a large amount of information and evidence, but it was still insufficient to solve the case. Some of the most accurate pieces of evidence related to the identity of Jack the Ripper include the letters believed to be written by the killer, known as the Jack the Ripper letters. However, the authenticity of these letters is still debated, and there is no specific evidence showing that they were written by the actual murderer. Also, there are no official records to date that have proven someone was arrested and convicted as Jack the Ripper. Therefore, despite numerous theories and studies, the identity of the Jack the Ripper killer remains a major mystery and one of the most famous unsolved serial murder cases in criminal history. The Jack the Ripper case is not only an event in criminal history but also an important part of popular culture and art since the murders. Jack the Ripper has become a symbol of mystery, brutality, and terror, and has had a profound influence on literature, film, television, and other arts. Literary works such as From Hell by Alan Moore and Etta Campbell, The Lodger by Marie Belloc Lowndes, and the autobiography of Jack the Ripper by James Carnac all inspired this case and created fictional stories and theories about the identity of the murderer. In cinema, the Jack the Ripper case has been recreated in many films and television series, such as Jack the Ripper 1988, From Hell 2001, and Ripper Street 2012 to 2016. These works often focus on the strangeness and mystery of the case and have contributed to creating a unique image of the killer in the mind of the viewer. In addition, the Jack the Ripper case is also the basis for many works of art, including paintings, sculptures, and musical compositions. Artists often find inspiration from serial murders and create impressive works on this subject. The Jack the Ripper case had a significant impact on law and legal traditions, especially in the United Kingdom. The inability of the police and government to apprehend the killer led to improvements in security measures and legal protocols to ensure community safety and prevent similar crimes in the future. This case contributed to the development of investigative methods and forensic techniques, helping the police become more professional in solving complex criminal cases. It also sparked significant interest from the public and the press, creating immense pressure on the police and government to solve the case. The influence of the Jack the Ripper case also extended beyond the United Kingdom, impacting legal systems and police forces worldwide. It became one of the most famous serial murder cases and remains a hot topic in criminal research and popular culture.